Our guest today is Nancy Padberg, President and CEO of Catholic Education Arizona, a scholarship organization based in Phoenix with a mission to make it possible for underserved families in Arizona to have a quality Catholic education for their children. Nancy has been in her role for 2 years. Nancy believes in creating high-performance teams and environments with respect, value, and trust for associates through continuous communications. She spent most of her career in Los Angeles and San Francisco, leading marketing and media companies. She's been married to David for 30 years, and they have 3 children and 2 dogs. Nancy is very proud of her father, who is a 4th-degree Knight of Columbus, and her grandfather, Felix, who built the altar at their church, St. Patrick's in Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Nancy's complete bio will be listed in the show notes of our episode.
Well, Nancy, welcome to the podcast. So glad to have you here on Advancing Our Church.
Thank you, Jim. It's great to be with you today.
So what is your weather like there in Phoenix, Arizona?
Well, past the sunscreen. It's about 72 degrees today here in February. I'm loving it.
Nice. Very nice. Well, we have this white fluffy stuff that's coming down in Pennsylvania. You probably don't get a lot of that in Phoenix in the valley.
No shovels here, Jim.
Well, it's great to talk with you, and we've only met each other recently, but I feel like we've been in this for a long time. You know, this mission of Catholic education, and in January, as you know, we had some great episodes and on Catholic education and different organizations that are furthering the mission and working with students and making a difference. And kind of through those episodes, you know, we happened to come across each other, and I was so glad to see in my hometown of Phoenix, Arizona, Catholic education alive and well under your leadership with Catholic Education Arizona. So first of all, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got involved with the mission of Catholic education? What drew you into this?
Sure. So I built my career in Los Angeles and San Francisco. So really spent about 21 years there in leading marketing and digital firms, advertising agencies, most recently at Hearst, and leading the education division. So when this opportunity came up, we knew our end game was Phoenix. Like, we knew this is where we wanted to be one day. My father's here, and it was amazing. I thought, this is really a marketing firm for our Catholic schools.
Right.
And I can really live my truth in being Catholic. And I know at Hearst, or really at any company, you don't really talk about your religion so much, or belief systems. And so when I saw this opportunity, I was really, really excited, because I thought, well, I can live authentically and bring all my digital marketing skills here. And so that's what we've been working very hard doing for 2 years. And it's been a really exciting ride so far.
Was it a big shift coming from San Francisco to Phoenix? I mean, culturally or just climate-wise?
Yes. So truly, I think what was weighing on us, it was kind of hard, is truly the crime and the cost, and you know, all the things that just make day-to-day life a little bit more difficult, a little more of a struggle. And when we looked here at Arizona, just the lifestyle is just was so much more appealing as well. And where we love California, like I said, we spent many years there.
Sure.
We really want to be here for my father. And this is the biggest small town. It's truly, you're 3 or 4 degrees from knowing somebody that knows somebody. And maybe it's just the kindness and warmth really of the diocese as well. But we have been embraced and welcomed. We really have loved our 2 years have gone quite quickly.
That's fantastic. Well, you have a tremendous bishop in Bishop Olmsted, and he's known, you know, probably throughout the world, but certainly around the country for his writings and his wonderful charism. So you're very blessed in the Diocese of Phoenix. So So we want to talk a little bit about today about Catholic Education Arizona, and depending upon where our listeners are at this moment, you may or may not be familiar with an educational tax credit program, right? And so you're a scholarship organization that was formed to offer scholarships to Catholic school students. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about that and how you're structured?
Sure. So we are a school tuition organization, Jim. So we have about 60 STOs in Arizona, and there are about 19 states that have STOs or have tax credit programs. So we're very pleased, and I always like to share, we have been around for 23 years, and we are number one of all the STOs.
Congratulations.
So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And what does that mean? Well, we help 45% of the children with some level of assistance in our Catholic schools. So, the need is there. And so we're very fortunate to have this kind of structure here in Arizona. So we are our own 501c3 nonprofit charitable organization. By state law, we have to provide 90% in scholarships, and then 10% is our operating budget. Mm-hmm. So one thing I think that was really important to note is that we don't take student recommendations. When our contributors get their form, they can designate a school. So it really helps those in the school of the greatest need, right? So that's really how our bishop and our mission is structured. So our mission is we provide scholarships to underserved children, mm-hmm. to change lives, serve society, and transform culture. Mm. And so our team of 9 here, we jump out of bed every day because we get to do this. We get to change lives through education. And we're really, really excited that we've just built this healthy culture, which I'll talk about, a little bit later, but it really is just a blessing to be here and get to do this kind of work.
So yeah, and that's beautiful, Nancy. I think so many more states could benefit from a program just like Arizona has, just like my other home state of Pennsylvania has. But just in case somebody's listening and they're not exactly familiar with how that works, can you describe that for us? I know that donors can designate a portion of their taxes, state taxes.
Correct. So we have 4 revenue streams. Mm-hmm. 2 are the main revenue streams. So as you alluded to, individual tax contributors can, if they're single, they can give $1,183. To us, we provide a receipt and they just turn in with their taxes. It's that simple.
Perfect.
And then if you're married, you can do $2,365. So a little bit more. And we approximately have 10 to 11,000 individual contributors depending on the year. So our second major revenue stream are corporate contributors. So we have about 127 corporate partners, and they can range from any size and any industry. So, GCU, Grand Canyon University, is one of our largest partners. That aligns, of course, with their mission. And then a lot of larger companies, home builders, that align with their corporate social responsibility to give back to the community, to give back to the future workforce, to help build the future workforce. So ITC, CTC, or corporate tax contributions. We do take donations. We don't, that's not our main revenue stream, but a growing one for us are employer matching contributions. So we have companies here from Wells Fargo to, Intel, several companies that contribute or match what their employee contributes.
Wow.
That's lovely. And they can actually do that all on our website. There's a special software that we have for that, and it's called Double the Donation.
Wow. Tremendous. When I worked with this program, a similar program in the state of Pennsylvania, and talked with donors about it, I think the biggest challenge with it was just making sure that everybody was aware of it, just education, because the donors who did it always said to me, Jim, this is a no-brainer. Why wouldn't I dedicate my taxes to help students go back to Catholic school? Are you finding the same thing?
Yeah, it's absolutely true. We continually are educating. And we are a marketing firm. When we really, peel back the layers, we are marketing and educating, informing all the time through multiple channels.
Sure.
So, from podcasts like this to webinars to long form content, like we're creating a guidebook right now, our impact report, to our newsletter, social media channels. We're on 5 different social media channels. We have TV spots. We have animated videos. So however you want to learn about us, we have a way to teach you.
You're out there. That's terrific. That's terrific. And so how does it work on a practical basis with the schools? You said you have a team that works with the schools. How does that process work with them?
Sure. So our schools, of course, are our key stakeholders. When we looked at our ecosystem, we have about 100 parishes here and 37 schools, and we all work very closely together to share our message. So we have a parish liaison that goes out and speaks at the parishes, and or puts up a slide, or perhaps in the bulletin about us. And we also have our kind of, I don't want to say they're not school liaisons, but we do something called STO nights. So, school tuition organization nights, where many STOs will come in and inform the parents in kind of an exhibit situation. So that's very helpful. We encourage the parents to sign up or apply for 3, 4, or 5 STOs. That's no problem. We don't look at it as a competition. It's really helps all the children. We work side by side. So with our schools, we work closely with the development directors. We work closely with their finance folks, managers at the schools, and they have the application filled out. We use a third-party company called FAIR that decides who is best qualified to receive those scholarships. So we're not involved with that part of the business. Other than that, this company's been with us for over 20 years, and they've been a very good partner of ours.
Well, from an ethical standpoint, that probably would be best, right? I mean, once the donor designates the school or schools that they want to donate their contribution towards, it probably alleviates some of the concern if you have a third party that is objectively looking at the applications, which I'm sure families have to offer some financial verification that they meet the requirements to receive a scholarship, a need-based scholarship, correct?
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. It takes a lot of pressure off of us. It's true.
I would think so. So you mentioned your podcast. Always a fan of seeing another podcast out there, especially in our Catholic space. How has that been a great tool for you? Are you getting a lot of listeners, a lot of hits on that?
We have. I think as people become more familiar with podcasts and how they work and really how easy it is, and if people are on the go working out or even in their car or what have you, they can listen to it at their convenience. Really, as marketers, we have to be where the consumer is. Look at consumer behavior and provide, how are we going to reach them? This is the new behavior. So I think we have about 24 or 25 podcasts now. We post them every other Monday.
That's great.
And it really has been a wonderful cadence. And people from the diocese to our corporate contributors to parents, teachers, really giving that perspective from all of our stakeholders in our community, why they give, what are the benefits of giving. Our companies, that's actually one of their benefits. They can, fill out a form, if they want to be in our social media, if they want to be on a podcast, want to be in our newsletter, we're happy to do that. And we have some companies that are confidential as well, but we do have several on our podcast, which is called Creating Future Leaders. So we certainly encourage your listeners as well to take a listen. It's been an exciting new program for us that we started last year.
Well, it's a great storytelling medium, and I'm sure you have some wonderful donor stories, donor journeys to share, as well as some great stories from folks who have benefited from the Catholic education because of the wonderful generosity of your corporations and the individuals who have donated.
Yes. We've been pleased. We've been pleased with it.
We'll make sure we put a link to your podcast and certainly to your homepage on the show notes of this episode. I want to talk a little bit about I don't want to call it the elephant in the room, but the thing that we're all dealing with here, working through this pandemic. And I'm sure that you hadn't been in this job for too terribly long when all of this happened. Just about a year ago, actually. Now we're here as we record this towards the middle of February, and it was just about a year ago when we all were shutting ways of working from home. How have you had to adjust during this past year during the pandemic?
Well, great question, and we're still in it. So I was a year into the role when we had to make a lot of changes and adapt quickly.
Yeah.
So I was very fortunate my first year in the role. My executive chair, Melissa Fees, really met with me every month and educated me on the different stakeholders, the different influences, where I should spend my energy. And that was just absolutely a great education for me. And meanwhile, I really worked on creating a healthy culture. And so I'm going to dovetail into the pandemic. But the reason we were able to really lead right through it was earning my MBA at Pepperdine, which places you out in the world for purpose, service, and leadership. So the emphasis there, and Christian-based, of course, the emphasis is really, my biggest takeaway is building a healthy culture. So built on trust, respect, and value for one another, but really isn't that the Christian way anyway? So how do you put mechanisms in place to do that? So continuous communications, a structure for that would be weekly one-to-ones.
Sure.
3 meetings a week to have this face-to-face time, check-ins. How are you doing? Because when it's quiet, people can get lonely or afraid or the unknown. And so that goes for far outside our office work, right? Yeah. But to focus it back on the pandemic, we knew we needed continuous communication. So we started our Monday, Wednesday, Friday meetings remotely at 9:00 on Zoom. So we could say, how are you doing today? We'd always start out with a check-in. And then what are we focused on? Where do we need help? And so we were able to move through this and talk about it. Always talk about, how we're handling it and how are you doing? So when I got here 2 years ago, there was not a laptop for everybody. So there were just a couple. And so immediately I got laptops for everybody, which really paid off because we could work at home then with no problem seamlessly. People are getting expert, at Zoom and doing share screen, and it's just practice, and being comfortable with it. I don't know. It's been I just have this incredible team. I really, really do.
Mhm.
They move mountains. I mean, I think we have 31 different marketing programs going on right now.
31. Oh my goodness. Wow.
31, 31. From print to email to direct mail
Yeah,
to newsletter. I mean, all the social media channels. We're acting as an advertising agency. And why is that important during a pandemic? Because your brand has to build trust.
sure.
Your brand always has to be consistent in its messaging. And we were able to stay right there because guess what? People were spending more time here. About 6.5 hours a day, people are on their phones or some kind of electronic platform.
Hmm.
So we're able to be there with positive messages or, not always a call to action, donate or contribute, but uplifting messages and fun messages as well.
Yeah.
That was really important to show that brand personality.
Well, it's so interesting what you're saying about the whole loneliness piece because you hear a little bit about that in the news, and especially depending on, you don't know what the person's at home situation might be. Living alone, we have a lot of young adults, single people who might be on their own relatively, for the first time or only for a couple of years, and single people, and or maybe a family of five living in a relatively small home already, and now they find themselves 24/7 on top of each other, all of them trying to Zoom and do coursework and their jobs all at the same time in the same space.
And not have enough Wi-Fi bandwidth, right?
Right.
I mean, things you don't really think about.
Exactly. Well, all five of us have been either Zooming or streaming at the same time. We had to upgrade ours in our home just recently just to make sure because we were each getting kicked off at different times. So
Sure.
be in the middle of a podcast like this and suddenly go dark.
Oh dear.
But it's it's interesting. Everybody's home situation and the influence that plays certainly on their job and then maybe even the way they see their lives and the way they see things kind of moving